What are your best naked stories? Embarrassing or funny? Accidental or intentional? We've all been naked and had crap go down. I was naked and sitting on the toilet when an earthquake started shaking the building. I had no idea what to do, and I kept thinking how sad it was that I was going to die taking a crap. A fear shared by the entirety of the human race, I'm sure. Breastfeeding triplets is fairly tiring, and since it's pretty much 24/7, putting a shirt on isn't a huge priority. 1 or 2 finish, and then the next one's ready. We just moved, and the rather young cable guy showed up to hook us up. I let him in, showed him what we needed doing, and couldn't figure out why he was not only giving me the eye like I was a crazy person, but was doing his best to back away slowly every time we went through a doorway. So he gets it done. About an hour later my husband comes home, and I tell him about the slightly creepy cable guy. It was only when my husband pointed that out that I was dressed solely in bikini bottoms that I understood what the problem was. Breastfeeding triplets. First thing that came to mind, total recall. A few summers ago I met a gal that I had chatted with online a few times, and we decided to go up into the hills for a swim at a nice creek. We get there, it's a beautiful day and the water is nice, so I decide to go change into my swim trunks. So I go up into the bushes to change. I slipped my pants off over my shoes and then pulled my shirt off. I'm standing there naked except for shoes. Then I toss my shirt on the ground and get ready to put on my trunks. Turns out I threw my shirt onto a wasp nest and they were none too pleased about it. I started getting lit up by the wasps and took off toward the water, helicoptering down the hill toward the girl I just met, yelling "Ugh wasps." She thought it was pretty funny. I thought standing naked over a nest of angry wasps was the stuff of nightmares. I did get laid later on though, so I guess that made up for it. This is my favorite one yet. The description of helicoptering down the hill is hilarious. Living in the middle of downtown, across the street from the fire department HQ was terrible at first. Trucks going out day and night, ear-splitting sirens, a constant stream of amp noise, drunks and e-freaks from the bars and clubs next door. But like anything else, you get used to it and forget about it. 3 months into my lease and the 3rd floor apartment felt like a quiet cottage getaway. I've never been a particularly modest person, and the less I saw of my live-in girlfriend, the more I felt comfortable just plunking my bare butt down on the furniture. We had a small loft, which I claimed as my personal, naked booze and Dreamcast zone. I had to climb a ladder to get to it, down the ladder for toilet and food, up the ladder for beer and Phantasy Star Online. Many lovely nights were spent this way. So, some night in December I'm up there leveling my ephemeral with the sausage hanging out when I hear a loud air horn from outside. It was a new sound that I hadn't learned to drown out, so I turned to look. There, lined up on street level outside my window is the city's entire freaking fire department, in uniform. They wave to me in unison. Then some cop shines a searchlight through the window at me and my junk. I give them the thumbs up and continue to level grind. The next day I close the blinds. Don't worry, the reason they laughed was because they knew the Dreamcast wouldn't last. In high school I was at my girlfriend's house while her parents were out. We were in the basement fooling around and wasn't too worried because we could always hear them come home and had plenty of time to react. We were both on pants and doing our thing. Decided to keep the shirts on just in case we didn't have a lot of time. Thank God. Well, out of nowhere the basement door opens and we have literally no time at all to get dressed. We grab our pants, throw them under the blanket we're under, and act like we were just laying on the couch watching TV. Her mom and dad both sit down in the same room as us and start watching TV with us. 45 minutes later we're still sweating our asses off because we didn't get a chance to put our pants back on. The mom finally goes, "You two are acting a little strange. Plus it doesn't look like you have any pants on," and just begins to laugh. We both let out the most awkward, forced laugh imaginable. Both the parents just got up and went upstairs. Man, I thought I was going to get shot in the face. Her dad wasn't someone you wanted to mess with. Oh, they knew. And that was your warning. On holiday in Ibiza my mate convinced me to go skinny dipping with him, because apparently it's dead fun when you're drunk. Anyway, we went swimming and did flips and crap, and these girls started laughing at us. At first we thought it was because we were naked, but in fact they had gone and got the security. Security dragged us out the pool and asked which room we stayed in. We couldn't say because we were on our final warning and this was only the second night. We told him that we didn't go this hotel and that the girls had let us in. They got a warning too. So the only option was to escort us off the premises. So, there I was, with my best mate, naked on the streets of Ibiza, drunk, as clubbers are starting to come home and the police are out in force. The rest is a drunk haze, but apparently, we hid in some bushes, creepy how, until the guards left, and then ran inside the hotel courtyard and climbed up onto our balcony to get back in. TLDR. Went skinny dipping, got caught, thrown out onto the streets, hid in a bush, got home safely. We told him that we didn't go this hotel and that the girls had let us in. They got a warning too. That was a brilliant touch. Another not fully naked story. I was in Tijuana, Mexico, was in the Navy and stationed on Coronado Island off San Diego, so it was a stone's throw, and the bars down there have this guy that walks around with a holster, carrying 2 bottles of tequila, a big sombrero, and a whistle around his neck. When drunk, you find it hilarious to pay this guy a few bucks and he blows the whistle and attacks a friend of yours, tipping one of the tequila bottles over into their mouth while holding them and blowing the whistle. Good times. Anyway, I was so drunk I wanted to be that guy, so I offered him 40 bucks to let me rent his stuff for the night. He was unconvinced, but my friends told him he could keep my clothes in exchange. So I stripped down to my underwear and sandals, donned the sombrero, whistle, and holster and proceeded to get back to partying. At some point I went to locate my clothes, which were of course at this point gone. So, I now had to cross the border back into the US dressed in my boxer briefs, an oversized sombrero, a large pink whistle around my head, a holster with 2 long since empty tequila bottles, and my sandals. There were many pictures taken that evening, and the border guards laughed so hard I thought they might crap themselves, and, thankfully, the US border does not have a dress code. There were many pictures taken that evening. Prove it. 1. A few years ago I was drinking with some Polish friends. They had some ridiculously strong homemade alcohol, something we drink back home all the time, and I was completely hammered before I knew it. I barely remember most of the night. Later they decided to go to a club and left me passed out on the couch in their apartment. At some point I decided in my drunken sleep that I was too hot and took off all my clothes, leaving them in the bathroom, then went back and passed out on the couch again, where my friends of course found me when they returned. Luckily they thought it was hilarious. 2. I don't remember why exactly, but I sleepwalked or something to the living room in my old apartment completely naked and ended up on the couch. One of my roommates comes downstairs at 7:30 am, dressed in his suit and ready for work, goes to the fridge and gets a tall glass of milk, turns on the TV, and turns around to see me in all my glory. He said it took every ounce of strength to not drop the glass. He started yelling at me, "Dude, you're naked." My response was to grab a pillow and cover myself up. He gave up and walked out the door. 3. Back in college, some friends and I were hanging out when my ex gets the brilliant idea to play strip poker. About an hour later we're all naked, about 10 of us, having a pretty good, but innocent, time. Suddenly there is a knock on the door and everyone freezes and starts to go for their clothes. My ex stands up and screams. No one moves. Somehow she shocked everyone into actually staying there. She looks out the window and says, "It's Chris, I'll get it." She grabs a towel and answers the door, saying sorry but she was just getting ready for a shower. There is an outside hallway so Chris can't see us, and we hear him saying, "I was just going by on my motorcycle and I'm dying to use the bathroom." He walks in and sees us all naked, his eyes turning to saucers. My ex, who was also his ex, drops her towel and starts laughing hysterically. He's just in absolute shock but has to go to the bathroom so badly he can't do anything but run and take as much in as he can on the way. After he gets into the bathroom we all quickly grabbed our clothes and got dressed, then pretended he was completely crazy when he came back out and asked us why we were all naked. Ruffle story 3 takes the cake. I used to date a waitress. I'm a network admin. Naturally our schedules didn't match up very well. I would stay up late to party with her when she got off work sometimes, and often she would still be at my house when I got off work the next day. This girl had rather large boobs, very large in fact. One Saturday I got called in to do some work. When I came home, the girl came out to greet me in all of her naked glory. The only problem, it wasn't me coming home. My mom lives about an hour away and came into town to go shopping. She stopped by my apartment to see if I wanted to have lunch on my off day. She heard what she thought was me inside and came right it. The girl heard who she thought was me coming home. They met in a very awkward way. This girl had rather large boobs, very large in fact. This part of the story was completely unnecessary and yet made me enjoy it a whole lot more. I was playing a benefit for a wildlife organization with a band. The girl that was running the benefit was an ex-stripper. After we played a couple of songs, she got up on stage to make some remarks. Someone yelled, "Take it off." She didn't. I seized the opportunity. "I can get naked," I said into the mic. The crowd cheered, so I obliged and proceeded to remove my clothes. I played 8 songs, letting the boys fly the entire time. At the second last song, the other 2 guitar players took their gear off. The best part was at the end, as we are taking our gear down. No pun intended. This fairly cute girl comes up to me and starts asking me if our band would be interested in doing a cameo in an erotic film. The stage was about 5 feet high. I was still naked and crouching to get as close to her level as possible. My balls were right in her face the entire time she was talking. It was pretty classic. I was hiking in Patagonia through essentially what were people's backyards in the mountains. It was an exceptionally gorgeous afternoon and my friends and I had set up base camp and spent the day wandering around and relaxing after a solid few days of hiking and climbing. I went off on a hike of my own, and after hiking about 30 minutes I found myself completely on my own along an old horse trail. It may seem like a strange idea, but at the time it made perfect sense to get undressed and wander naked through the gorgeous woods that reminded me of Lord of the Rings. Fast forward about 10 minutes. I'm walked along, in my birthday suit, when 2 gauchos on horses wander over the hilltop towards me. Oshti doesn't even come close to what I felt at that moment. Not only would I have to explain to these gentlemen what I was doing on their land, I would have to do it in broken Spanish while completely naked. I had left my clothes behind me a ways. Being good-natured poblados, they thought it was the funniest thing in the world about how they had stumbled upon a naked gringo. Not only did they walk with me back to my clothes, but they spent the rest of the afternoon playing cards with us. For a moment there, though, I thought I was toast. One boring summer Friday, my Reen and I decide to take a train and head out to the nearby town on a seaside and check out some clubs there. We miss the train back, so decide to sleep on the beach. At 5:30 AM, sun wakes us up, and I'm all covered with sand, so, woohoo, let's go for a swim. I don't have any other clothes, and there is no one on the beach, so, skinny dipping it is. But, not minutes after we enter the water, I crap you not, 7 nuns arrive to the beach, carrying chairs, put them right around the boat. I left my cloths on, pull out their crosses and start praying. At first, I'm like, okay, they'll be here some time and leave, but 20 minutes later, my lips turned blue. I'm shivering, so I say frick it. I put a biggest smile I could, and with head high, spiky wet hair, and my pack dingling between my ties, my friends still tease me about that, often. She say whole scene seemed like devil tempting them or something, especially considering that spikes of my hair seemed like devil's horns, and that the sun was right behind me. You actually may have been the answer to their prayers. Just a peek, dear Lord, that's all we ask, just a peek. At Christmas when I was about 17 or 18, I got extremely drunk with my boyfriend's family, playing Yahtzee. Not only did I try to drink the dice out of the cup on my turn, oh no, I also went to my boyfriend's bed, got naked, fell asleep, and after stumbling to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I decided to climb into his mom's bed. Naked, yes, she was in there, and I told her, no thanks, this is fine, when she gently tried to help me out into the correct bed. Thank God they were a cool family. I don't remember any of this. by the way, and they did not tell me until months later. No thanks, this is fine. Hilarious. 15 years of age, losing my virginity on the beach. Nice, right? The stuff of a coming of age novel. It was smooth. It was simple. It was not nearly as awkward as either of us likely expected. We both got to climax. Perfect. Let's do it again. Turn over doggy style, why the heck not? I feel something wet in my butt crack. I don't know what kind of voodoo is going on, but I clench and grab instinctively, losing my support and falling on my face in the sand. She turns around, and the Environmental Protection Agency was on patrol, just standing there now, allowing his dog to meet and greet my bung. She takes off, splits over the marsh. I consider it my manly duty to collect our clothes, but dang all this sand. I grab a handful and take off after her. We came back after realizing I grabbed only my undershirt and her panties, and find that the EPA took our clothing as evidence. Or just a sniff. I don't know. So I had to walk back and ring the doorbell to my parents' house naked at 15 years old. Guess who answered? Grandma was visiting. It wasn't until that night it became apparent that the particular patch of marsh I had run through was filled with poison ivy. I thought my junk was going to fall off. If you've ever seen those sewer mollusk worm things that pulsate and ooze, you've seen a depiction of my 15-year-old ballsack. I thought I was going to lose them. Just when I got started. 100,000 oatmeal baths and a number of years later, everyone found it hilarious. A truly magical experience. I remember my first time, it was on a white couch. So dated this girl from Cambodia. She has only lived in the States for 3 years and she was 24. So one night at her house we started fooling around for the first time. It eventually led to sex. What I didn't know about this girl is that she had only had sex 3 times her whole life, and also had no idea what semen was. So I get about an inch in and she yells ow, it hurt. So I roll over and think frick. Well, after an awkward silence she asked anything I can do for you, so I straddled her stomach and she began to beat me off, and as I came it flew all over her chest. This is where IT gets good. So she starts screaming, because she didn't know what CM was and thought I was peeing on her. So she kung fu Cambodian death grips my dong halfway into the orgasm and it just stops halfway coming out, which actually kind of hurts. So I then had to have a really long conversation with her about human anatomy and what happens during sex. Fascipum. I was in 7th grade gym class. Afterwards we're showering. I'm in my stall minding my own business and I get yanked out by my hair by a big girl named Anita. I'm 5'7" at the time and maybe 95 pounds. I was super tall and skinny in junior high. She tosses me onto the floor and starts kicking me, calling me names. I had no idea why she was doing this. All I could do was assume the fetal position. Other girls just minded their own business or went to get the coach. The coach pulled her off of me. Apparently I had taken the only stall with hot water and it was her stall and everyone knew not to mess with her. I was just standing there naked wishing that I could sink into the floor. My school didn't play with this kind of thing. Her butt would have been expelled. My little brothers were demons. When I was a depressed high schooler with barely enough willpower to get out of bed, they would stand over me naked and swing their little dongs in my face. They called it the flipper flopper dance. This is the funniest thing here. I live in a condo complex in Southern California. There was an earthquake. I ran out of my front door naked. All my neighbors ran out of their front doors, not naked. I live about 50 yards from the San Andreas fault line, and I always keep a robe or towel or something by the bed just in case of that very thing. Fooling around with a girl in her dorm room. She hears the door opening, her roommate, and shoves me onto the floor, naked, quickly wraps herself in a towel, and talks with her roommate for a couple minutes, who keeps saying something is off, and asking if she is okay. It was about 5 minutes before she left and I could get out from under the bed. Suddenly I understand your nickname. I thought I had the place to myself one sunny Sunday morning, and so I got out of the shower butt naked and decided to get dried off in my bedroom. My girlfriend's mum had let herself in to drop off some curtains she had made for us and saw me and the all together. She screamed. We laugh about it now. Personally, I didn't mind too much and the scenario has played out many times in my head with dramatically different endings. Always good when an attractive woman sees your wang without you having to shell out any money semicolon. I went out to a karaoke bar with a few friends, call them Bill, Bob, and Sue. We were having a good time and I was checking out a hottie across the bar wearing a red skirt. Sue and I got called up to do a duet, but she was in the bathroom, so I went over to the hottie in the red skirt to ask if she wanted to sing with me instead. She said okay and we ruined a song together. After we get done she grabs her purse and joins us at our table where we begin flirting pretty heavily. We all do a few rounds of tequila. I get up to pee and when I get back the hottie is back on the other side of the bar talking heatedly to a guy that had to be about 6 feet 6 inches and 320 of muscle. So I grab my friend Bob and drag him to the bathroom with me so I could work out an escape plan. Unfortunately, because of the tequila, all that came out was, we can't take him. We are all back at the table now and I'm back to flirting with the hottie, who I notice now is wearing a wedding ring. We do a couple more rounds of tequila and leave the karaoke bar to hit a club and dance a bit. Bouncing around on the dance floor turned out to be a really bad idea after drinking and I started to get a little nauseous. I start to tell her I need to sit down when I go flying backwards and stop very abruptly with my back against a wall and my feet a foot or so off the ground. The Hulk had returned and is holding me by my throat up against the wall while yelling, "What the frick are you doing with my wife?" At this point I have only one option left to me. I throw up on his face. He drops me and starts clawing at his eyes, which leaves me again with only one option. I kick him in the nuts as hard as I can and run away. I am 5 minutes and 11 seconds and weigh in at a whopping 180. I had no chance against this guy. I make it out of the bar and realize that I have no clothes on. This is where the drunken logic comes into play. I figured he would be able to find me because of the puke. So I took all my clothes off and threw them in the gutter. I then ran the 3 blocks back to where my friends were parked and hid in the trunk of their car so the guy wouldn't find me. I then pass out. I woke up with the car in motion and people talking up front. The taillights were providing plenty of light for me, so I found the safety release latch and pushed one side of the back seat down. Sue was in the front seat and screamed. Bob was in the back seat and screamed, as well as P himself. Bill was driving and slammed on the brakes and skidded onto the shoulder of the road. After a little explaining and making fun of Bob, they dropped me off at my apartment and I snuck back up to my room. TLDR. Got drunk. Threw up on weightlifter's face and kicked him in the balls. Hid in friend's trunk naked to escape. That is, well now, that's certainly a story. I did nude modeling in college or art classes, mainly to pee off my ex-girlfriend, plus it paid $20 an hour. No one I know now will believe me really, although anytime it comes up girls instinctively look at my groin. Perverts. I whipped it out to an SUV full of college girls, only to be one-upped by a double-ended dildo. In high school we would drive a popular loop area in a college town. Lots of college girls driving around from bar to bar having fun, so we would get drunk and have a sober friend drive us around. Having no shame, I was a fan of rolling the window down, whipping out my member and showing it to anyone in sight. So this SUV full of girls pulls up next to us. They are screaming out the windows having fun, so I go in for the kill. Drop trow and out comes the member. Next thing I remember, and it feels like slow motion, is the back passenger window rolling down and a hand sticks out the biggest rubber double-ended dildo I have ever seen. Needless to say, I accepted defeat and zipped up. I don't believe I ever whipped it out after that again. I was just shamed. You should have had a sword fight equals. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.